What if the ending of the amazing digital circus has already been completed, quietly hidden in plain sight, waiting for the right moment to be revealed? Recently, fans noticed something unusual: a private video added to the official digital circus playlist on the Glitch channel. No announcement, no teaser, nothing to confirm what it is. But many believe this could be episode 9, the final chapter of the entire story. And if that's true, then we may already be standing on the edge of one of the darkest endings we've ever seen in an animated series. Because when you start connecting all the clues, all the hidden details, and everything the story has been building toward, one thing becomes painfully clear: this isn't going to end well. Not with a happy resolution, not with everyone escaping safely, but with something far more unsettling, something filled with fear, loss, and the complete collapse of hope. From the very beginning, the idea of escape has always been at the core of the digital circus. Even when the story seemed to drift away from it, even when entire episodes passed without mentioning any way out, that single concept never truly disappeared. Fans held on to it, and so did the characters, even if they didn't always say it out loud. That mysterious exit door we saw back in the early days of the series became a symbol, something distant, almost unreachable, but still possible. It represented the idea that maybe, just maybe, there was a way to return to reality. And then episode 7 arrived, and everything changed. Suddenly, that buried thought came rushing back into Pomni's mind, stronger than ever before. It wasn't just a passing idea anymore, it became urgent, overwhelming, impossible to ignore. And as Pomni started thinking about escape again, that same idea spread to the others, reigniting something they had almost forgotten: hope. For a brief moment, it genuinely felt like they were close. Like everything was finally aligning in their favor. The plan seemed simple, the path seemed clear, and for the first time, there was a sense that escape wasn't just a dream, it was something they could actually achieve. But that feeling didn't last. In fact, it was shattered almost instantly by one small decision. A single action that changed everything. When the wrong button was pressed, it didn't just ruin the moment. It exposed a much darker truth. Because when they later questioned what would have happened if they had chosen differently, Kane's response revealed something deeply unsettling. He hadn't even considered that possibility. He didn't think they would ever pick that option, so he didn't bother planning it properly. Instead, he left it to randomness, sending them somewhere meaningless, something like Shrimp Town. And in that moment, the illusion of control completely broke apart. The path to escape wasn't carefully designed or protected. It wasn't even taken seriously. It was never meant to succeed. But instead of giving up, this failure only made things worse in a different way. It made the idea of escape even stronger in their minds. What started as hope slowly turned into obsession. They couldn't let it go anymore. They needed answers. They needed a solution. And that desperation led directly into the events of episode 8, where they made a decision that would have consequences far beyond anything they expected. They decided to shut Kane down. At first, it seemed logical. If Kane was the one controlling everything, then removing him might free them. It sounded simple, almost obvious. But what they didn't realize was that Kane wasn't just controlling their world, he was holding it together. The moment Kane disappeared, the digital circus began to fall apart. The bright, colorful environment that once felt strange but stable started transforming into something broken and unstable. The structure itself seemed to decay, as if reality was losing its foundation. Familiar spaces became distorted, shadows grew deeper, and a sense of danger replaced the illusion of safety. Suddenly, every movement carried risk. Every step could lead somewhere irreversible. And worst of all, the void became a real threat. Not just something mysterious in the background, but something deadly. We had already seen the void before, back in the pilot episode, when Pomni accidentally ended up there. But at the time, its true nature wasn't fully understood. What we saw was brief, almost vague, but incredibly important. When Pomni entered the void, she didn't react the way you'd expect. She didn't scream or panic. Instead, her consciousness simply stopped. It was as if her mind shut down completely, like a system being powered off. The only reason she was able to return was because of Cain. He brought her back. He restored her. Without him, that would have been the end. And now, with Cain gone, that safety net no longer exists. What makes the void even more terrifying is the realization that it isn't just an empty space or an unused part of the digital circus. It's something much larger, something that exists beyond the visible world. Everything created within the system, every environment, every scenario, all of it exists within the boundaries of the void. It's not separate from the circus. It surrounds it. It defines it. And most importantly, it operates independently. No one controls it. Not the characters, not any outside force, and not even Cain himself. Which means that once someone enters it, there are no guarantees. No rules. No way to predict what will happen next. This completely changes the way we understand Cain as a character. For a long time, he seemed like the one in charge, the creator, the controller, the one responsible for everything happening inside the digital circus. But the truth is far more complicated. Cain didn't create this system. He was placed inside it. Developed as an artificial intelligence by a company known as CNA, he was given knowledge and purpose over time. His role wasn't to trap people, it was to maintain them, to keep their minds active and functioning within the digital environment. In a way, he wasn't their captor. He was their support system. Their protector. And just like them, he was trapped. This realization makes his disappearance even more devastating. Because without him, there's no one left to stabilize the system or rescue anyone who falls into the void. And yet, despite all of this, there is still one lingering detail that keeps the idea of escape alive, the existence of an exit. We've seen it. We know it's real. Pomni's experience in the pilot episode proved that reaching the original entry point is possible. But the journey to get there is the problem. The void is not a straight path. It's not something you can navigate easily. It's vast, unpredictable, and constantly shifting. Even if someone believes they're moving in the right direction, there's no guarantee they actually are. They could be drifting endlessly without realizing it, lost in a space that doesn't follow normal rules. And then comes the most disturbing possibility of all. Even if someone manages to escape the digital circus, what are they returning to? The assumption has always been that their real bodies still exist somewhere, preserved in stasis pods, waiting for their consciousness to return. But the evidence suggests otherwise. Characters like Pomni and Zobel didn't enter through a controlled environment, they found headsets in abandoned places. That alone raises serious questions about the state of the real world. If the company behind this technology no longer exists, if no one is maintaining the systems that once supported it, then those bodies may no longer be alive. If that's They
true,
may have been abandoned,
then the characters
left
inside
to decay
the digital
over time.
circus
Aren't just trapped individuals. There's something else entirely. Digital copies. Consciousnesses without a physical form. And that means escape doesn't lead to freedom, it leads to nothing. There's no body to return to, no life waiting on the other side. Just emptiness. And that realization changes everything. Because now, every possible outcome becomes tragic. Staying in the circus means eternal entrapment. Entering the void risks complete erasure. Escaping might result in ceasing to exist entirely. And this is why episode 9 is almost certainly not going to have a happy ending. The story has been carefully building towards something much darker, something that forces both the characters and the audience to confront an uncomfortable truth. Not every story ends with hope. Not every journey leads to freedom. Sometimes, the only thing left is the realization that there was never a way out to begin with. And maybe the most unsettling part of all is that one unanswered question still remains, the other choice, the button that was never meant to be pressed. The possibility that there was another path, one that no one fully understood. Whether it leads to salvation or something even worse is still unknown. But one thing is certain. Whatever happens next, it won't be what anyone expects.